This episode of Angles is brought to you by Richmond Personal Injury Attorneys. Expect high-level communication, transparency, and cutting-edge technology to keep your case moving. Expect a legal team that's laser-focused and moves fast to get the results you deserve. When the unexpected happens, expect Richmond Vona. Learn more at richmondvona.com, 192 Seneca Street, Buffalo, New York. Welcome to Angles, the podcast where we dig into the stories behind impactful people and explore the sharp turns, daily decisions, and defining moments that shape how they got to where they are and how they keep moving forward. I'm John Richmond, and every week I sit down with guests who are building bold, meaningful lives and careers in Buffalo and beyond. If you enjoy these conversations, please hit follow, subscribe, drop a comment, or share the episode. It's a simple way to help us grow with the community and keep these stories coming. Today on Angles, I sit down with Kimberly LaRussa, founder of Sweet Buffalo and a journalist turned community advocate who's dedicated her life to bringing smiles and support to those in need. Kimberly shares her own journey as a breast cancer survivor, the importance of early screening and clinical trials, and how her battle has deepened her drive to give back. From lifting up families in crisis to creating moments of joy for children battling illness, Kimberly shows us the true spirit of Buffalo. Let's get into it. Hey, Kimberly, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I just appreciate you being here. We got introduced through the American Cancer Society, and obviously we're going to talk a lot about that. So much to talk about because of all the good things you and Sweet Buffalo do for the community. But I actually wanted to start off with sometimes I do this, like a little bit of an icebreaker question, especially, for somebody like yourself. Buffalo's known as the city of good neighbors. What does that mean to you?
It means everything to me. I actually moved from Florida to Buffalo when I was 19 years old. I'm 38 now, and I never left. A lot of people say, "Oh my goodness, like Florida to Buffalo." It's usually the opposite, but for me, it was a place I wanted to stay because of the city of good neighbors, because of the friends I made, the relationships I've built. I wanted to have a family here, so it means a lot to me. Even in my line of work that I do, I don't think I'd be able to do all of the amazing things we've been able to do to help the community without being in the city of good neighbors. So it means everything to me.
There is something special about Buffalo. I grew up in Rochester, but I lived in New York City for about 10 years. And there's something like palpable, like you can feel it when you're here in the community. It's people really care for one another and are willing to step up in big ways. I mean, we've seen it, where, Bill's Mafia will donate to, another player's charity, or obviously, as we're going to talk about everything through Sweet Buffalo. I mean, it's pretty nuts, especially when you have that perspective like you do when you came from someplace else.
Mm-hmm. It really is. I mean, you don't see other cities doing, basket raffles and all kinds of things when someone is going through a difficult time. Honestly, like life is, kind of like people usually just, help themselves sometimes, but not in Western New York. When someone's going through it in Western New York, we're all there for them. So it's a very special place.
Yeah, it is. And, obviously I want to kind of jump right into it and talk about Sweet Buffalo. And I'm just, I've been following you for a while, as I told you before we started. And I'm just really curious, how this got going, how you got the idea, because obviously you have a tremendous amount of momentum and you're doing so many amazing things for many different types of people. But how did this all start?
So I have a background in broadcast journalism. I graduated from Buffalo State, and I worked in television news. I worked in newspapers, magazines, and I just quickly learned that I wasn't really interested in politics. I wasn't interested in, police blotters and fires and all the bad news. I wanted to tell stories that made a difference in someone's life. So in 2016, I came up with the idea for Sweet Buffalo, and in May of 2026, we'll be going on 10 years. And it was just a way for me to tell stories that made a difference. But then, within those stories, we would find our own ways to help people in the stories we were telling about. So it became much more than just telling someone's story. It was like, how can we help these people, these nonprofits, these animals, our community? It just blossomed. And that's, credit to the city of good neighbors. But yeah, it was nothing like this in the area. I like to call ourselves the original good news platform of Western New York because we started first. But yeah, it's been a beautiful thing, and I couldn't have done this by myself. Of course, it's a testament to Western New York and our community that has made all this possible.
Yeah, that's true, right? I mean, I think about that as like, running my firm. It's like you're nothing without your people, and then without the community that puts their trust in you. When you started, was it just you? Like I think about like like when we started our law firm, like how different it was then versus now. Like, what was it like in those early days? Do you remember like the first story you told?
I off the top of my head, I don't remember the first story, but I mean the most memorable stories are of the ones of the children we've helped, the children battling cancer that we were able to bring smiles to. Sadly, a lot of those children aren't with us today, but we were able to make a difference in their lives when they were here, and those children will be in my heart forever. There was, one sweet boy who was battling cancer who we just wanted to make his last Christmas amazing, and so we teamed up with Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, and they came in a carriage with horses, and they showed up at his house with presents for him. And that memory for him and his family was something that they'll never forget. We had another boy. Bentley Hayden, who I love very much, who wasn't doing well in his cancer journey, and all he wanted was a black French bulldog puppy. And thanks to the community and a generous donation, we were able to make that happen. That someone just happened to have a black French bulldog puppy that we could gift him. And then, after that, he really wanted a cat. And so we got him a cat, and he named the cat Scratchy. And these animals are still with his family and his siblings to this day. So it was things like that that just stay in my heart forever, because I can't fix what happened in their lives, and I can't help beyond with cancer. But at that time, what those children needed was a smile, and we were able to make that difference thanks to the community. So those stories stay in my heart forever.
Yeah, it sounds like it's so important. If you know somebody who's going through something really tough, or you're able to help somebody, it's like I almost look at it as like giving them the opportunity to momentarily forget about, what
Mhm.
they're going through, or put that aside and just focus on something good, something positive, something that makes them smile. And you get to do that every day.
I do. And it's very rewarding every day to wake up and think about, like, what can I do to help someone today? In the beginning, I remember I was talking to people about, what I wanted to do in my career, what Sweet Buffalo was, and they didn't really understand it at first. Like, well, you can't really, make a career out of helping people. I said, watch me. And so I did.
That's awesome. Where does that come from? Have you always been like that, or did maybe you get to maybe some point in your life where you realize, I just want to help people?
I think I've always been very driven. I think I've always had a dream. I didn't always know what that dream was going to be, but I was always in the pursuit of a dream, and the pursuit of that. I'm going to college so I can do what I love for the rest of my life. What is that? And so, I really found that helping people was my passion. I really found that animals were my passion. And so I kind of just took everything that I loved and I just mixed it all into one. I took all the things that I learned in college with journalism, with taking videos, with telling a story, with marketing, with PR, and I have like put it in this whole big like, circle, and I figured out how to use that to give back in positive ways. So that's really the model, is just take everything you've learned in life, take everything you love to do, and see how you can, make a career of that. I think that's the American dream, right? It's to wake up every day and do what you love is the dream.
I got to tell you, we've had a lot of very successful, inspiring people on the podcast, even though we've only been doing this for, a few months now. But the one common theme is passion. And because, life is tough, work is tough. But if you're passionate about something, that really is what I think, fuels you to go above and beyond to get through those tough times, to figure out those tough problems. Um, it sounds like you would agree with that.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's not easy to find your passion and to find your dream. It's easier to give up, to be honest, and just say, okay, well, I'm just going to work for this corporation. I really can't handle this, doing this. I mean, I've worked, jobs and odd things, just to keep, the income coming in so I could do Sweet Buffalo and stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, you just really have to believe in yourself. You have to, just don't ever doubt yourself. You can do it. It just takes a lot of time and energy, and as long as you don't give up, it's possible. And that's what I did. I never gave up. I always saw the dream and I just kept going with it.
Do you ever have times maybe in those early years where, there's no question about what you're doing, you love it, but like it got tough and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this?
Yeah, I would say that there, like I said, there are times where you think that maybe just going to a corporation that can just send you a weekly paycheck is easier than doing things on your own. But like even now, like with my battle I had this year with cancer, I just the need for help is so great. And the need for help with Sweet Buffalo to help these, people, these animals, these nonprofits, it never stopped. And so that's what drives me to keep going is that like everyone needs our help. Everyone needs this platform to be able to share their stories, to make a difference. For instance, recently there was a little boy, a baby, and he needed a brain surgery. And sadly, the insurance company would not approve this surgery. And it's like gonna would have been $500,000 for this family. So again, I used what I learned to get the word out. So we shared it on Sweet Buffalo, but it didn't stop there. Worked with my media partners, said, hey, this family needs your help. Will you help them? Every news station in West New York covered this story. And this is not the first rodeo. I've done this before for families and kids. And, of course, I don't want to say of course, but after enough word got out with television and on Sweet Buffalo and other platforms, the surgery was approved.
Wow.
Thank goodness. So it's like that where I know I have there's a need and I know I can fill it for these families and animals and nonprofits and such and I know I can do it. So I can't stop because these people need me.
That's also, I mean, that's amazing. But also, I got to be honest, like, I'll just say, pisses me off with like the insurance company. It's like, really, we had to do all that to get you to approve something that you had the ability to approve and should have approved from the beginning. That's
That's
brutal.
exactly it. It's like how come this had to go all over the television? Why couldn't you just approve it at first, like right away? It's a baby. He needs a brain surgery. I don't his parents wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't absolutely necessary. And his doctors were saying it's absolutely necessary, and they were arguing because it's not in network. But the doctor was saying there is nobody in network that can perform a brain surgery. Brain surgery is pretty big deal. You want the
Yeah.
top-notch person to do that on your child. So, anyways, yeah, I mean, just grateful it did get approved. But yeah, why any families or people going through this have to jump through hurdles to get the, life-saving support that they need? I have no idea.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so many people that need help, and you help so many people. How does it work these days? Like, it sounds like are people just finding you, or you do you have ways of kind of finding people that you think you can help? How does this work? Because like the need, there's so much need.
There is. At this point, I don't really have to find anybody. The referrals just come to me, whether that's my personal Facebook page or, Sweet Buffalo's Facebook page. They realize we're here to help. At this point in the beginning when I started, I was doing like actually journalism stories where I'd interview someone and I would write the story. Unfortunately, there's such a big need right now. I don't have time for that. So as much as I would love to just write everything, like a newspaper, there's too much of a need. So right now at this point, we are just, getting the photos, getting the information and putting it out there. Plus people have kind of short attention spans these days. So they
Yeah.
kind of like, what's going on with this family? How can we help? How can we support? And then you just put it right out there now. So, quicker the better. I mean, these families need help and they need help real bad. And so very lucky that our followers are helping. They see these stories. It's not just about GoFundMe's either. I mean, some people need living organ donors to save their lives. They're going through dialysis. They have no, like, they need a kidney donor and they need somebody to share their story so they get shared. And maybe somebody out there will read that story and decide to be a donor. So that's actually how Sweet Buffalo came about was I was writing those kinds of stories for a local newspaper. And then afterwards, I would hear from the individual who needed the donor, and they said, "Oh my goodness, because you wrote that story, so many people reached out to get tested to see if they could become a donor." And it's just very fulfilling to know that your work has helped someone else.
Yeah, that, and that's so interesting too, right? So, you're getting this story out, and like you said, like you have people who are like, you know what? How do I get tested? How do I figure out if I can be the one that can help? Um, what do you think it is that gets people to finally motivated to do something, to act? Because like, I think a lot of people are like, I know I should do this. It would be nice to help, but then it's like they see a story and they're like, what, screw it. I'm just going to do it now. What do you think it is?
I just think that people are looking for a way to help others, to help their community. They just don't always know how. And so, when with Sweet Buffalo, you just go through all the stories on our Facebook page or Instagram, and there's very easy ways to help others. I mean, donating an organ isn't the easiest way, but these people like that are doing it, they might have always had that thought in the back of their mind that that's something that they wanted to give a gift to someone else, and they just didn't know how to go about it, or they just didn't, know the right story that touched their heart so much that they like could not like look away from it. And so I think it's just a platform that gives people the opportunity to help others. A lot of people that help sometimes they're just anonymous. They're just looking to help somebody, and then they'll message and say we want to help them, but we want to be anonymous at this time. And I say okay, no problem. But yeah, it gives people a way to give back. And these people that are doing the giving back, they're just like such selfless people, and they just needed like a way to figure out how they can help, and we give them that.
Right. And yeah, it's cool to see like the community through, through your followers like really rally. And but I gotta imagine, and you're giving a little bit, you started giving a shout out to your team earlier on. Talk, can you talk a little bit about your team and kind of how they play such a huge role in ensuring that you can help so many people?
Yeah, we have, people that donate their time, their resources all over Western New York now that want to give back. Whether that's, I work with Niagara Down Under, and they're a farm in Sanborn, New York, and they gift me their kangaroos to borrow, so to bring to children who are
Really?
battling cancer, to bring them a smile. So that's one of our partners. And sometimes they're busy maybe with like a fair or an event, and they'll say, Kimberly, just come and grab the kangaroo, please, and bring it to the child. So I will, and the kangaroo will be in a little pouch, and then we'll bring it to a house. They love doing it themselves too, if they can. So then they'll bring the kangaroo, and then they'll like let the kangaroo out of the pouch, and then the kangaroo will just hop around the house and make the kids smile. It's so out of the box. The kid's not expecting it. They're going through a hard time, but like, how do you not laugh or smile when there's a kangaroo bouncing around your house? So
I
that's
mean,
that's the goal.
that would work for me. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm having a bad day, if someone could bring a kangaroo in my office, I'd be
Yep.
super pumped. Wait, so
Yep.
like there's times where you're driving around Buffalo and you have a kangaroo in your car?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I bet you never
Yeah,
thought that would
or not
happen.
driving around, just walking around with one in the pouch because I'm like going to my destination. Like people are like turning their heads, like, is that a kangaroo? Yes, it is.
That's
But
amazing.
I have so many amazing partners. I mean, my best friend Julie Starr from Buddy's Second Chance Rescue, she'll help, bring smiles to kids with the rescue puppies. Bruckman Media, where I am right now, a very professional media and marketing company, has been through with by my side since the very beginning. My best friend Amanda Bruckman owns the company, and I told her about my plan for Sweet Buffalo and what I wanted to do. And of course, she used her marketing expertise to help me build a plan to be able to better express what I wanted to do for everyone. And she's been such a blessing. Again, I'm using her space right now because my house is not as fancy and professional as her office. So and she's got equipment and good Wi-Fi, and so. But aside from that, she has a lot of partners and connections in Western New York. Her whole team does, and they use that to help me help others with Sweet Buffalo. So I'm really really lucky for the amazing team that I have in regards to like these people donate all their time to help me,
Yeah.
and they're so happy to do it because they know it's going to help someone else. So I have a lot of professionals on my side helping me with Sweet Buffalo, and I'm so grateful.
And you guys have such amazing momentum. Is this something that kind of just you look when you look back on how you've gotten to where you are today with Sweet Buffalo? Is it something that like kind of built like steadily built the momentum over time, or is there like one story, one act of kindness that just really blew it up and like kind of took you to the next level and got you the awareness that you needed?
I mean, I think it's slowly built up. There are a lot of stories. I mean, that I can countless stories now that have went viral. So, like in the very beginnings of Sweet Buffalo, the first story that ever went viral was like, oh my goodness, like who thought this could be possible, like to go viral like that. And now, like lots of stories that we do go viral. There's one specific story. She's a good friend of mine now. She actually came and volunteered to help us at the Canal Fest parade. Her name is Shakira Autry, and I don't know if you remember her story, but during the blizzard she saved the life of a man named Joey.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and Joey was outside of her home. He's mentally disabled, and she brought him into her home and basically saved his life. And so, that story went viral right away. And because of that, a lot of blessings came to both Shakira and Joey in regards to, a GoFundMe was made for them. A lot of she came on my Sweet Buffalo show last year, and she was actually invited to a billionaires retreat. They wanted to have her there to share that story, to share like what she did, the selfless act. So she was like hanging out with like, the founder of Amazon and the founder of
Wow.
Netflix and like being all nonchalant about it. But like, I mean, how amazing is that? That like a story that I wrote turned into something like that. I mean, she had, Gail King mailed her a check and wrote her a note and said like, like, thank you so much for what you did. That was such a selfless act. Like, thank you. I mean, they got a trip to Disney World. I mean, I won't say I didn't do all that stuff. Other people did once they saw the story. But just to know that like I had a part in that by sharing that act of kindness. And now I have a forever friend in Shakira that she's like, helping me with my charity and stuff now is really, really incredible.
That is amazing. Yeah, that's crazy, and that's the type of person who deserves the recognition and
Yes.
deserves those opportunities.
Yes.
Um, are there through Sweet Buffalo? I mean, you help so many people in so many different ways. Um, for those listening that obviously they just learned a lot, but maybe don't know as much. Like, can you talk a little bit about maybe any like kind of recurring programs you have, or like kind of kind of all the different things that you do? I know there's a ton, but just kind of at a high level, like the various things you do and the people you help.
Yeah, so we work with various charities in Western New York to help others. So, for instance, Hope Totes is a charity in Western New York that provides Hope Totes to those who are either going through treatment, or maybe the caregiver is helping the individual going through treatment, and it's like a tote that helps them get through the difficult time. It has a medical binder in it, it has slippers, blanket, and the tote you can bring to your treatments. And so they gift me with those totes to give to others. So they know that like with our stories, we're sharing a lot of people that are having medical hardships. So they give me all these totes and I gift them to others. So for instance, today I went to radiation, I'm meeting all these people in the lobby now going through a difficult time. So I'm going and I'm getting these Hope Totes and bringing them with me to Roswell to gift to these people. So, that's a gift Hope Totes is giving to me, as knowing that I'm going to put these totes in the right places as their partner. So that's been amazing. For those who don't know, like we will send children to fun places. So if there's a company that has extra tickets, say like KeyBank Center sent me tickets and said, hey, do you know any kids that would want to go to this show? And then I'll reach out to the families, and I just sent, two amazing kids. One kid, his name is Jack, and Jack just had a year anniversary from having to do chemo yesterday. I didn't know that, but I just wanted to send Jack and his best friend Mia to the concert. And so they went at KeyBank Center, had an amazing time. And then afterwards, I learned that was a very special day for him. I didn't know at the time it was the anniversary of that, but KeyBank Center gave me those tickets and I was able to gift that. So, when you work with Sweet Buffalo and you have an opportunity for whether it's a child or a family and you reach out to me, I make sure that that goes to a family that really, really needs it. And I think that's what makes, Sweet Buffalo special, is that we have those connections with the family, and the families trust us to do the right thing, and we always do. So people trust us with that. So if you have any opportunities like that, please reach out. And we're always looking for partners to join us in helping us. We want an army of people helping us in Western New York. I'm the face of Sweet Buffalo, but it's hard to do it alone sometimes. So we
Right.
need a lot of people to help us.
Yeah, for sure. And not only are you doing all these amazing things with Sweet Buffalo, but the whole reason I'm sitting here having the opportunity to speak with you is I was fortunate to be introduced to you by the American Cancer Society and locally the board that I serve on here in Buffalo. And you're very involved there as well. Can you talk a little bit about your involvement and why it's so important to you?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with breast cancer in December of 2024. My mother was diagnosed first in October, and because she went for her annual mammograms every year, they found that she had stage 0 breast cancer. That was very scary to me. So I realized I haven't been to the doctor in a long time. So I went to the OBGYN shortly after her diagnosis, and they found a big lump in my breasts that I had no idea that I had, and real big shock to me. I was just going thinking like, they're just going to send me on my way. At least a good thing I went. I wasn't going there ever thinking that I had breast cancer. I just being, cautious. So then from there, I've had quite the journey. I've learned a lot. As I had told you, like I've helped families for years before this, but helping families and then actually understanding what they're going through, and you've never been through cancer yourself, is two different things. I never pretended that I knew what they were going through. We all sympathize, our hearts hurt for them. What can we do to help? But until you go through it yourself, you have no idea. So this experience has really helped shape who I am as an individual. It's made me more passionate about helping others than I was ever before, because now I know I needed that help. Now I know how to help others. And so, anyways, Making Strides Against Breast Cancer, American Cancer Society reached out to me, Katie from Making Strides, and she asked me if I wanted to be an executive ambassador this year, which would involve spreading awareness of Making Strides, which involves raising funds. And I'm good at all that stuff. So I said yes, of course. And so during my battle here, I've been doing my best to team up with local businesses and spread the word about Making Strides and what they do for the community and how I can help. So we recently just teamed up with Paula's Donuts, for instance, and Paula's Donuts made a special donut to raise funds for Making Strides. So I got an event coming up with Resurgence and different things called Drink Pink, and I've just been using my marketing ideas to help share awareness for a little bit. But it's been great. The businesses have been so welcoming, so opening. I couldn't do this without them. So I'm very grateful. Like, again, I could just take all the stuff I learned and use it to give back.
Yeah, and I think something I learned from being involved with ACS is and this is something I think sometimes people worry about. They see like this big, huge organization. They're like, well, if I give money, how do I know that's coming to Buffalo? It does. Like all of these efforts here locally, Making Strides, or I want to talk to you a little bit about Men Wear Pink that's coming up also, or that's also here in October. The money gets funneled right back here to Buffalo to fund cancer research. And I think that's pretty special. I think it's important for people to know that.
Absolutely. And especially with me, with the type of breast cancer I have, it's called HER2 positive. And, before an amazing doctor came up with, a special medicine called Herceptin, which I get every 3 weeks and I will get for a year, there was no cure for HER2 positive breast cancer. These women were dying. And so imagine, like, if I was born in a different year, in a different time, I would not be here today if it wasn't for that research and for those donations that funded that gift to all of us. Now millions of women's lives have been saved that have HER2 positive breast cancer.
We'll be right back after a word from our partners.
After an accident, life can be scary, stressful, tricky. You need Richmond Bona to help navigate the process, because getting a life-changing settlement can not only take time, it can take an emotional toll. The team at Richmond Bona provides high levels of support through all the ins and outs, so you get the settlement you need and the new beginning you deserve.
When the unexpected happens,
expect Richmond Bona.
Now back to the conversation. Yeah, and I think what I always try to tell people is, I understand like not everybody, has a lot of money that they're able to give, but every little bit counts, right? If you can, donate to ACS or any other cause, that supports or organization that supports a cause that you care about, especially cancer, because it's touched all of us. That's for sure. Every little bit counts because it all adds up.
It does, and this research cannot be funded without that. And what I liked about Making Strides is, like, right away, they were coming up with ways to bring a smile to us breast cancer survivors. So we did Portraits of Hope with them recently, where myself and other breast cancer survivors got our portraits taken, and then after that, they took us to a beautiful dinner, and they've interviewed us and they've heard our stories, and now I've made more friends from the network of survivors that I met through Making Strides. And so that's been really nice too. It's like, at the end of the day, just sit at a table together and be able to share our stories and have, a nonprofit organization really take the time to, do something that, makes us smile at a very difficult time, and shows that our journey is cared about, that it's not ignored, and that it's understood, and that, they want to be here to help, has really meant the world.
Yeah, and I wanted to go back because you mentioned something that I thought was really powerful, is talking about how, we can empathize with what other people are going through, but unless we've experienced it, there's really no way for you to really understand, what somebody's going through. Now, that you've been battling breast cancer. What's something that you would want people to know about, what the journey's like, from your own perspective?
It's really hard. You have to find the strength within yourself to get through it. And who I am today is not who I was in the beginning. So I think a lot of people I'm meeting now that are battling breast cancer just found out and they're crying. And I think sometimes they're ashamed that they're crying because maybe they feel like that makes them weak. But it doesn't. I was crying right there with you, a few months ago. I had no idea what was going to happen. But as time went on, I got stronger because I had a plan of action. I had an army of people that supported me and were around me, and it got better with time, but that didn't happen right away. I was like, oh, the first thing you think of when somebody tells you have cancer is you're going to die, right? I mean, there is no other thought that goes in your mind. I mean, the first thing I thought of was that. I thought of my son, who I love more than anything in the world. And I just don't want these women to see, me and out there and I'm talking and I'm sharing my stuff and I'm smiling. But like, I want these women to know, like, I was with you. I'm that person. I was crying. I had no idea what to expect, but it did get better. Look at me now. Look at me now. I'm thriving and I'm appreciative and I'm alive and I'm here and everything. I never knew if that light at the end of the tunnel was going to come, and I'm still going through treatment, but I'm a different person now. I'm much stronger than I was in the beginning when I found out, and they will be too.
You're a badass.
Thanks. I try.
You are. It's awesome. Something I think about sometimes is I'm just interested on your perspective, and I'm sure everybody's different, is, sometimes with myself, like, you find out that somebody that you care about is sick, or is going through something tough, and maybe you have that urge to be like, let me help. Are you okay? Are you okay? And like, sometimes I've found from friends who have been really sick where they'll say to me, like, you know what? I know that you care. I just want you to kind of like treat me normal. Like, I don't want you to kind of ask me, how do you feel about that? Because I know a lot of people sometimes are like, well, I want this person to know I care, but I don't want to like flood them too much. They have a lot going on. Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think that definitely I just wanted my friends to treat me like Kimberly. I mean, I'm so lucky. I'm so appreciative to everyone that was there for me. So like there was really nothing that someone said that like could hurt my feelings. I mean, some people just don't know what to say. They just want to be there for you, and maybe they say something that's like a little bit, oh, you probably shouldn't have said that. But also, they're not trying to be mean to you. They just sometimes they're just silly and they don't know what they're saying because they've never been through it. So again, like something like, oh, it's just hair. It's like, you want to shave your head? Like it's
Yeah.
a big deal, but they don't mean it. They think that they're like empowering you and making you strong, and you're beautiful without hair anyways. And like they're not trying to be mean. It's just sometimes not helpful. But as you mentioned, like I was so appreciative to those who treated me like myself. So for instance, my friends at Bruckman Media, I had mentioned to you, they kept me working, they kept me going. Like I was on TV all the time, even though I had to wear a wig. It's like, the reporters who are next to me, they just, made me feel better. And you're so beautiful. I'm so proud of you. And it's like, that's all I wanted to do is I just wanted to be Kimberly. So I like never stopped going on TV, even if I didn't feel I looked that great. I never stopped doing my work. I wanted to be Kimberly from Sweet Buffalo still. I didn't want to be Kimberly, the cancer patient. So yeah, I'd say sometimes too, like you might ask somebody, what can I do for you? Well, I'm probably not going to tell you what I can do for you. Why don't you just think of something for me, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's like maybe you send me a dinner from my favorite restaurant or get me out of the house. Like maybe I'm feeling okay and maybe I can go to that event that you want to invite me to. Like keep inviting me. Don't stop inviting me. I want to go. Like just make me feel like Kimberly for a day and distract me, make me laugh. That's all I wanted. So yeah, definitely. You don't have to know what you're doing to be there for somebody battling cancer. You just got to try.
Yeah, that's great advice. So, you mentioned, and it's crazy to hear this. So you and your mom were diagnosed at essentially the same time. Um, I want to just talk to you a little bit about that, but first I was thinking about this. So, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think breast cancer screening starts until what, like a woman's maybe in her 40s. So you were
Mhm.
before that time.
Yep.
What advice maybe would you give to women who are not, eligible for, normal breast cancer screening just because of their age? Like, how can they, take care of themselves and look out for something like this in hopes of maybe, if God forbid it's going to happen, that they can catch it early?
Yeah, I think knowing your family history is so important. Maybe getting tested for the genes that could come. I got tested for the genes obviously after had breast cancer. I didn't have any of them, so I don't even know what caused this. But I would say, advocate for yourself. So one of my friends is a news anchor, and she's younger than me. But because she saw what I'm going through, it made her nervous. And she had extended family members that had breast cancer, not her mother, but other family members. So she like begged her doctor, can I get a mammogram? And they're kind of like pushing it off because they're saying like it's not close enough because it wasn't her mother. She's like, but I really, really would like a mammogram. So she had to kind of advocate for herself and push it. And it wasn't easy, but she got her mammogram. So it's like it doesn't hurt, right? And I think maybe some women too, they think mammograms are scary. Like nothing's scarier than having cancer, I tell you that much. So if you can, catch it early, mammograms don't hurt. That was nothing to me. I've gotten a million things done at this point, and the mammogram was the least of my worries or concerns. So you don't need to be scared of that. So yeah, you got to really push your doctors to get this done. As soon as obviously my OB/GYN felt the lump, then she's like, go. But, I hadn't seen her in a long time before that. That's why it prompted me to go after my mom was diagnosed. But, if you don't have a lump and you really want to go get checked, advocate for yourself.
Right. Yeah. That is, again, really, really, really great advice. I think you just got to keep pushing. If you're worried, just push, 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 and get it done any way you can. And I know, it's sometimes like you got to be the biggest advocate for yourself, right?
Yeah, and I think too, because we're so young, we think we're invincible. I sure know I did. Never
Yeah.
had anything wrong with me my whole life, right? I go to the doctor, they send me home. So I thought I was invincible. And we're not invincible. And especially right now, for some reason, younger people are getting diagnosed with cancer in general more than ever before. So sadly, we are not invincible. So it doesn't matter how young you are, cancer does not discriminate. And so don't picture cancer as like older people anymore. It's not, it's happening to us young. But the good thing is if you get checked and you advocate for yourself, you get it caught early so you can be here for a long time. Because unfortunately, my mom got caught at stage 0, but that's because she got her mammograms every year. I was stage 2, thank the dear Lord, because who knows how long I had cancer? I have no idea. And like
Yeah.
blood work, when you go to the doctor, they're not going to find the breast cancer in the blood work. So like I could have been chilling with cancer. I don't know how long. They said it was aggressive. So like, did I just get it? Did I have it for a really long time? I have no idea, but all I can do is be grateful that it was caught relatively early.
Yeah. I was recently talking. Do you know Dr. Cappuccino from Roswell?
That wasn't my doctor, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about her.
She's awesome.
Mhm.
She was on the podcast and we were talking about that. I was like, what advice would you have for women who maybe don't have insurance and can't get mammograms covered? And she gave some really good advice about, how women maybe, again, if they don't have the insurance, get it covered, how there's certain programs in the community to make sure they get those. So I think no matter what, yeah, make sure you're advocating for yourself and you're getting screened, especially when you become eligible.
Mhm.
So that's pretty crazy about you and your mom. I got to imagine you guys got even closer going through that journey together.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind. I mean, she had just moved here. So, I told you I'd moved from Florida when I was 19. My mom, lived in Florida all that time. She just moved here that year. So I don't know, if my grandma in heaven sent, us to be together quicker and got us together. So where she lived in Buffalo near me and around the corner, and then, prompted her to get her annual mammogram and she did it. I don't know what, but it was really wild that like my mother moves to Buffalo, well, North Tonawanda is where we live, and moves here and then gets diagnosed with breast cancer. And then I'm like, oh, let me go to the doctor. And then I went and then I was, and it's just, a lot. I feel very, very lucky and very, very fortunate. That's for sure. I
Yeah.
think, without my mom going to get her mammogram, I would still be hanging out here probably with, I mean, no doubt, unless I felt it myself, with breast cancer. And then who knows, it could have spread, right? So I'm very fortunate and happy and grateful to my mom for going to take care of herself and going to get her annual mammograms. Because without that, I would have had no idea.
And you talked about a little bit earlier about, how fortunate you felt to have this new treatment for your specific type of breast cancer. And we were talking a little about, of course, the importance of generating money for research. Were you in a clinical trial at Roswell?
Yes, I
Wow.
was. And
Can you
I,
can you talk about that? Because I think that can be really scary, for some women, or anybody, right? Like battling cancer, like, oh, clinical trial. You just kind of talk about, how you approached that, kind of what the experience was like.
yep. So my doctor was Dr. Levine, my oncologist, and he's amazing. And yeah, our first meeting with him, he gave me a packet of paperwork and it was for a clinical study. And I was kind of taken aback because I didn't think I had any choices. So I was just ready for them. You tell me what I'm going to do and then I'll do it. But then there was this choice. and it was called the I Spy 2 clinical trial. And he's like, just take it home, like read it. There's a video, like watch it, and let me know your decision on this. So basically, there was like a drug that would be different than chemo. That if you got into that part of it, you would do that. And then if you finish that, you could be done with your treatment within 12 weeks. So if I would have went the regular route, I would have been in treatment longer. Or if you didn't get into that bracket of that drug, then you would do your regular chemo, but they would do it in every week for 12 weeks. So you get a lower dose, but you get it every week. So if you do the regular one, you get it like every few weeks, but you get a larger dose. So, anyways, the goal of this whole trial is to say that like all of us women are different, all of our bodies are different. What works for one woman might not work for the other woman. And like, why put extra, chemo and all that stuff into your body that you might not necessarily need? Like, let's see if this treatment works. And so I did it. It was a chance, right? Because if it didn't work, I would have to get more treatment afterwards, like to kill the cancer and stuff. But fortunately, the bracket I got in was the regular chemo. I did the 12 weeks, and it worked. So really lucky I went with that route. It was a great experience. It was a personalized experience. So they're trying to see if this stuff works. So like you're very important, and you get extra special attention. So I mean, clinical studies for me in the beginning, I thought they were like for people that had no other options, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
that's your last route to go when everything else has failed, but that's not the case. You can get in a clinical study and it could work out beautifully for you, and it's not just for that. And it was just the experience was amazing. At Roswell, I got to have my service dog with me because I was in the study, so I always had my own private room, whereas if I did the other way, I wouldn't have been able to have her. So that was a big thing for me. And just the people on my team, and it was just amazing. So again, clinical studies aren't always meant to be scary or the last, resource you can have. I was able to go through this. It benefited me to do this, and it benefited other women who they will learn from my experience that what they did worked.
And I mean, how lucky are we to have Roswell Park in our backyard? I don't think
Very,
people realize it.
they don't. I mean, people travel from all over to go to Roswell Park, and it's like to us, it's like, around the corner essentially. People travel hours and hours to come here just because it's, such a renowned cancer center. And I just feel really, really lucky to be in their hands. They saved my life.
Yeah, and I, look, putting politics aside, especially in this current climate, I've talked to people at Roswell. We know, you know, what's going on in terms of like grants and how hard it can be to get funding for clinical research. Even more reason to give any way you can, so that amazing facilities like Roswell can continue to have the resources to roll out these clinical trials, to save lives, to help other people down the road. I mean, it's just really, really important. And like that's actually interestingly, like, kind of what, I know this is again how we met, through getting to know American Cancer Society here on the local board and all the amazing people that are involved. I mean, there's so many, or too many to name. When they asked me to do, if I'd be interested in doing the Men Wear Pink campaign, I was like, I was literally already going to ask you how I can do this. I mean, it's amazing. What as guys, we admittedly can at times maybe have our heads in the sand a little bit when it comes to something like breast cancer, because for the most part, breast cancer affects women, although there are men that it affects. What do you think is important for men to know, especially maybe the men actively involved in the campaign of trying to raise money for breast cancer awareness?
Yeah, as you said, when I do my interviews, I try to be mindful for the most part, to say, women and men battling breast cancer. I feel like they probably, men probably just deal with it on their own. They're not going to join, a group. They're very proud and prideful. I do think that, they should know that they're not alone either, that they're not forgotten about. But I feel like at times they probably, might feel like that, and they need a tribe around them too. It's not easy whether you're a woman or a man. It's a terrible thing to go through. And especially for men, I'm sure that are diagnosed, are like, what the heck? Like, I thought it was just, women that this happens to, but it's not. So, they need all the support in the world too. So like for men to go out there and say, we're going to raise awareness for this, as well, it's important to see men standing up for this also.
Yeah, no, it's like every little bit helps. And I think we all have to help each other, even if it doesn't, touch you personally, or you think, because you're a man, this won't affect you as much. I mean, we have to help each other out. I mean, we're all in this thing together, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you see a lot of pink in October and a lot of talk about breast cancer, but that's because it's so, prevalent. It's, I believe it's 1 in 8, women get diagnosed, or I think I saw something the other day, like every 2 minutes a woman gets diagnosed. So I think it's just, a lot.
So, you've told thousands of stories through Sweet Buffalo. I mean, you have, your own journey that you're on, which is amazing just to hear you talk about it. What's the next chapter for Sweet Buffalo? What are you looking forward to most?
I'm looking forward to the most is just, helping my community even more with what I've learned throughout this process. I can connect more with the families and the children I help.
Thanks for listening to Angles. If this episode made you think, smile, or see something in a new way, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review and share it with friends. You can also follow us on social media. Angles is produced by Brett Tuttle. I'm John Richmond. See you next time.